Hello again. Welcome back. Thanks as always for tuning in. It's almost the end of the month. It's not quite the end of the month, but it's almost the end of the month. And at the actual end of the month, I'm going to be out of the country graduating. So I figured now was as good a time as ever to talk a little bit about my writing this month. This will be a bit more casual than my book reviews will be, because with book reviews, I'm trying to academically, professionally talk about the things that I'm reading and engage with that text, where this is kind of just me going over my feelings about how things are going. So it'll be a little bit more informal. I don't know that the actual book reviews are as formal as I think they are. Again, I'm practicing. I'm trying to retrain that muscle that used to be very strong, that I have since been a little bit lax with over the years. But again, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk about how my month of January went for writing. So this was the month that I was focusing predominantly on my characters. So I'm just going to talk about things that I had a lot of fun with, things I really enjoyed, and then also talk about a lot of what I learned through this process, most of which has nothing to do with character, but more me as a person and me as a writer. I guess we can just get right into it. I have my notes on my phone this time, because again, informal. So things I'm having fun with. So what I've done this past month is I have these really detailed character sheets that I've been filling out, and it goes over character basics, character goals, the relationships each character has with one another. So it's this really in-depth questionnaire that I have to fill out for all of my central characters. I have not completed all of them yet. As of today, at least, I still have obviously the next few days to get as much done as I can before the end of the month. But as of today, it was my goal to try to have them all finished, and I haven't finished them yet. I have about a character and a half left to complete, but I did finish 8 of them, so pretty proud of that. I think the document is like 100 pages at this point, which is just crazy to think about. There's a lot of people I'm trying to balance in this, which is another point that I'll talk about as far as how long this project is actually going to take, but that's going to be in another part of the video. So with those character outlines, it was fun for me because these are characters that I have lived with in my brain since I was like 15, so I know them very well, but there were certain questions that were really surprising that I didn't know how to answer or how to fill out. And so that was an interesting exercise, trying to recognize how much I know about these characters, but also how little I know about them. And it just really challenged me to look even deeper into what their motivations are, their fears, the things that are important to them. And it was just fun kind of playing around with who they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to fill out that cast. But the thing that I had the most fun with is within these character templates, which I adopted from Abby Emmons. She's got a huge like protagonist character profile that you can fill out. I have added some of my own things to it, but hers was the basis that I went off of. But in that, she includes their Myers-Briggs type and their Enneagram type. And being able to take these personality tests for my characters was just the most fun I had this entire month. Every single time I got to that section of the character questionnaire, I was like, great, it's personality test time. Because for that, I didn't have to think so hard myself about what I was trying to accomplish. It was more just this kind of fun tool I could play around with. Something I'm really wary of, and I'm trying to be very careful about, is not having characters that are repeats of each other. So when I see a character that's too similar, I think, oh no, do I even need them? And that's really hard to consider when I've been trying to bring these characters to life for 10 plus years. At this point, I don't want to get rid of anybody. So there were a couple times with those personality tests where I was like, oh gosh, they're the same personality type. That's not great. But with the Myers-Briggs in particular, getting to see the percentages really helped me. So for example, 2 of my main characters, they are the best of friends. I'm playing around a lot with this idea of the importance of friendship in your life. I feel like so often in YA, so many of the, I don't know why I just said it like that, YA? Is it that weird? I'm thinking about it too much. Anyway, something I've noticed a lot in YA is how often the friendships turn into romantic relationships. And I do love that. I love a good friends to romantic partners story. But I think so often it kind of shadows the importance of friendship in your life. And so with this particular pairing, I am really trying to, drive home the point that yes, it's a boy and a girl. Yes, they're the best of friends. No, nothing is going to develop between them, and that's okay because their relationship is just as important as the other, married couple that I'm presenting in this. So their personality type's really interesting. When I went and I took the Myers-Briggs for the boy, for the second character, he had the same Myers-Briggs type as her, and I said, oh no, that's not good. They can't be the exact same person. That's not going to work. But then you look at the percentages, because when you take the test on 16personalities.com, it gives you the percentages of like, you're this percentage of this letter, you're this percentage of this letter. And my favorite like difference between them is that yes, they're both INFJ, so they're introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. And then they have the added like T or A at the end, so turbulent or assertive. So they were both INFJT, which really gave me some cause for concern at the beginning. But then I looked at the percentages between them and they are so wildly different, which just made me laugh. It was fantastic. So I think with my girl character, her like feelings percentage was like 57%. So she could have been more on the thinking side. She could have been a T instead. But she ended up as an F because she just got over that like 50% hump. The boy is 91% feeling. So that was encouraging to see why it is I've paired them together in my brain. Obviously, they have a lot of the same qualities, they have a lot of the same tendencies, but the percentages of how they respond to things are wildly different. And that was just a fun little thing to see come to fruition in that. And they have completely different Enneagram types. She's a 5 wing 4 and he is a 2 wing 1. So obviously gonna have very different goals, motivations, fears, etc. in that. So it helps seeing that they were both different enough to be their own separate characters, but to see how they come together, why it makes sense for them to be best friends, why it makes sense that their bond develops so naturally. So that has just been the most enjoyable part for me. I had a spreadsheet open of all the different Myers-Briggs type, or not of all the different Myers-Briggs types, but of how all the characters tested, so that at a glance I can see how they're all kind of balanced. And when I need to pair two characters together, I can hide all the other columns and see them next to each other to get a good sense of how they're either working together or clashing against one another. So that was just fun, mostly because it didn't require so much of my brain power to answer. I kind of just got to play and enjoy myself. So that was fun. It's been fun to have something to work on that I'm really excited about. This part of the process has been really tedious so far, but it's the kind of tedium that like builds the anticipation of what's coming. I don't feel like I'm wasting time. I don't feel like I have to get back to my character sheets and keep working on this. It's been fun to delve deeper into that because it gives me something to look forward to. I'm so excited to be able to put these characters back on the page, to be able to see them start interacting with each other, to put them into all these scenes that I've been thinking about, and just kind of getting to know them deeper and deeper and understand a little bit better how they're all supposed to interact together. It's just made me so look forward to April when I actually start writing, because that's always the joy of it for me, is getting to hang out with these characters. The other pieces of it obviously are just as important and I learn just as much from them, but that's how I read also, is for character over anything else. And I think most people fall into the same camp in that way. So yeah, it's just been, I've had fun doing that. But getting into the things that I'm learning, not so much about character in particular or even writing in particular, but just things about my life and how difficult it's been to try to start treating this like a career. That's what I said at the beginning of the year. I said, I'm going to start treating this like the career that it's supposed to be. I'm really going to just go for it. I'm going to make this a priority. And even in making it a priority, I have not met all my goals, and I have struggled to find the balance between my personal life and my writing life, and having boundaries around both and trying to find the balance between both. I just had such idealistic goals, which is what I do anyway. I'm an idealistic person. So I set myself up for disappointment a lot, and that's my own fault, but oh well. But yeah, finding a balance between my personal life and my writing life has been trickier than I expected, even though I'm not really doing much right now. I have a part-time job. It's only 2 days a week, but those are 2 full-time days. I'm usually there for about 10 hours. So those 2 days of the week, I really don't get much done. I'm able to get a few things done because I do have breaks kind of built in to those days, but yeah, I don't get as much done on those days. So I put a lot of weight on the days that I have off. But the days that I have off are also kind of my only days to, clean up my house because it's gotten filthy, or feed myself, or go grocery shopping because there's no more food and I'm hungry. Like those kinds of things where just having to balance being an adult, taking care of my own home and taking care of myself, and all the other responsibilities that come with being an adult and just being a person, having commitments to your family and to your friends. And even if it's not overwhelming commitments that don't take a ton of time, it's still something in your schedule you have to make space for. And so having to like really stick to my writing hours, but also being able to be flexible with my writing hours, it's just been, I don't know. I'm someone who thrives in structure and routine, and I have not been able to establish a clear structure or routine yet because I'm still figuring out what works. And it's also just been an incredibly busy month and season. I mean, I thought right after Christmas things would settle down, and they did, but you're still kind of in the holiday season and recovering from the holiday season afterwards, and all the things you couldn't do during the holidays are now shunted to January's responsibility list. So it has just been remarkably busy in ways that I didn't expect. And so having to try to establish a new routine in that way has been more difficult than I was anticipating. But oh well, here we are. We're still learning. We're still trying to establish it and prioritize it. Something else I'm noticing is that my ideal work setup and time frame to work has changed with each season of my life. So when I was a student in my undergrad program, I typically was the most productive pretty early in the morning or late at night. So I'd usually get up to do homework around 7, or I'd wake up around 7 and then I'd start homework by 7:30 or 8. I'd work until about lunchtime, and then lunchtime to like after dinner is when I was in class and working. So I didn't really do anything then, but then I would continue to do homework after dinner, so like 6 p.m. on. And in the afternoon, if I had time, I was just useless. I couldn't focus. I was so tired. I didn't want to be doing anything, so I was my least productive in the afternoons. And so that trend kind of carried over to when I was working on my dissertation, although it shifted a little bit. I was most productive late morning and early afternoon, but after about 2-3 p.m., I was useless the rest of the day, so I couldn't really work in evenings anymore. It was harder for me to kind of get my brain to focus. I was ready to be done for the day, just ready to unwind. So I tried to keep my dissertation set up where I worked from about 10 to noon, and then again from like 1 to 3, and then I was done for the day for the most part. Sometimes those hours would shift, but typically I do 2-hour sessions in the morning and 2-hour sessions in the early afternoon, and I get 4 hours of work done. And I tried to do that again with my lifestyle now, and it just hasn't really been working. I'm still getting stuff done, but my mornings, I used to be such a productive morning person, and I like to wake up early still, but having to get things done in the morning just feels absolutely miserable. I don't want to do anything. I'm good at being productive around my house. Like, I don't mind waking up and immediately getting up to like make my breakfast, or enjoy reading my Bible, or go run to the grocery store, run my errands, or take care of whatever, go clean the bathrooms around the house because they need to be done. It's after lunch when I kind of start to settle down, but even then, I still feel kind of antsy, like I don't want to do anything. So I have found the time that has started working for me is 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Like that 3-hour chunk, I'm able to sit down and focus and just crank out a ton of work in those 3 hours. And 3 p.m. used to be the worst time in the world for me to work, and now it's like exactly when my internal clock goes, okay, it's time to sit down, it's time to work. So that's been both weird and interesting, discovering about myself that this is something that kind of cycles every single time I enter a new stage of life, and trying to adjust everything, all these habits that I already had established for myself into this new time frame. And that's been tricky too, like having to guard those 3 hours, because sometimes I'm late to my own writing session, not because of anything else anybody else is doing. It's not because I had other commitments or someone held me up talking. It's because I'm the one who looked at my watch, said, oh, oops, it's 2:57. I have to go get ready to write. And then I spent 15 minutes getting my snacks together and making my cup of tea and coming in here to start my candle and get the music going. My setup takes forever too. So it's my own fault, but yeah, having to adjust to that and learn what new like timelines work for me was something I wasn't expecting to have to deal with this month, but became very clear very quickly I needed to readjust. Yeah. something that I'm learning and something I've known for a long time, but it's like really sinking in, is just this acceptance that this project is going to take a long time. I still have the goal to have a polished draft finished by the end of the year, but I doubt this thing is going to be ready to start handing over to agents and to start querying about for another, I don't know, at least 3 years. At least. It might honestly take longer. The more that I look at the scope of what I'm trying to accomplish, the more I realize just how big of a project it is, and if I rush it, it's not going to go well. So accepting that this is just something that's going to take a long time has been tricky, because logically, I know that. I know it's going to take a while, but it's fighting imposter syndrome, because you say, I'm going to go make a career out of my writing, and then you have to spend several years even getting your foot in the door, so it looks like you're not really doing anything to the outside world, at least, and there's just that internal guilt that I feel of like I have to have something to show for it. An example I thought of the other night, I was talking to my husband, was, if someone says, I want to be a concert pianist, they don't just go become a concert pianist. They put in hours of practice daily for years before they even begin that career. But there seems to be more quantifiable, I don't know, like outward appearance of a concert pianist. You see that they're practicing. You see that they're improving in their piano technique. I'm not really good with music. I don't know. I used to play piano. It's been a very long time. I wouldn't call myself a musician. But the idea, right, that there are other forms of artistry that where you can see more outward results and people understand you're taking it seriously, whereas writing, because it's so individualized, because it's so kind of just you and your work for so long, obviously you share it with other people, but to the rest of the world, to your friends, your family, the people who are watching you online, it looks like you're not really doing much. I mean, maybe for some people it does, but I feel like maybe it's just a me thing and an insecurity thing, but I want to be able to have something to show for it, and so accepting that it's just going to take a bunch of me working on this quietly by myself for a long time to even get to a place where it's ready to present for publication has been tricky. And I'm accepting it now and learning to work with that now, but it has just sunk in a lot more this month as I've gotten started of, yeah, this is going to take some time, and I have to be okay with that. So that's been interesting, fun, love that. What else? Oh, also, my energy isn't what it used to be. I'm still young. I turned 27 this year, but man, I'm tired. I'm tired all the time, and I feel it in my body. I feel achy and sleepy, and I don't have as much endurance to just like go throughout the day without stopping like I used to. And I'm such a disciplined person. I always have been, and so my sense of discipline and my poor tired body that just needs to stop keep butting up against each other. So that's been something else too, is having to learn to balance, like, hey, yeah, you want to get work done and you feel motivated right now and you're a disciplined person, so even if you're not motivated, you're going to get it done, versus I'm so exhausted I have to go to bed, or no, I have to stop now because my brain isn't going to produce any more today. Even though you are disciplined and you want to keep going, you're not going to be productive until you rest. That keeps butting up against each other as well. So in this, like, trying to treat it as a career and make it important, I also have to prioritize taking care of myself. And that has meant setting some boundaries, not just with other people. I always felt like setting boundaries around my writing life would involve so much of telling other people no, and it does, and it has been that. It's also been telling myself no and learning how to set boundaries with myself about what to do. The biggest thing so far has been my sleep schedule. I have a friend who's been telling me for years, you need to sleep more. You should probably go to bed. You probably aren't getting enough sleep. And I'm like, yeah, but I've always run like that. And now it's catching up to me. So I've set a bedtime for myself, and I try to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. And let me tell you, the difference in my brain and my body when I actually sleep for a full night is remarkable. I should have been doing this for years, but I'm stupid or whatever. But oh well, again, things I'm learning, having to prioritize going to bed earlier so that I can actually be productive throughout the day and do this career like I want to. Another fun lesson that I didn't think I was going to learn this month, but here we are learning it. And last thing I'm learning, oh, yes, recently my friend and I were talking about just this general, like, having to learn how to set boundaries with yourself idea and setting challenges for yourself. And she said something that really stuck with me. Janessa, hi, if you're watching this, I love you and thank you for this. We were talking about goal setting, and she said goals are goals for a reason, and kind of left it at that. And I said, explain, tell me more. She said, well, when you set a goal, you understand that you are reaching for something. You understand that it's going to be a challenge. You shouldn't feel like a failure if you don't meet your goals. What matters is you were working towards them. They're goals because you know you're not there yet. You have to be working towards them. It's a goal for a reason. And that just made something in my brain click. Like, if I don't hit every single goal I've set for myself, it's not that I failed. It's not that I've not learned from it. It's not that I'm not working towards it. It's that it's a goal, and it's a continuous process of working towards it. So that's something else that I've been trying to adopt in my mindset this month, is goals are goals for a reason. And just because I don't meet a goal doesn't mean I failed. Did I finish all of my character sheets by the time I said I would? No. Did I get really close and still learn a lot in the process? Yeah. And that's okay. It's okay that I'm going to have to carry over some of this work into February, which is supposed to be just for world building, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, that's been a very freeing mindset to try to adopt, that goals are goals for a reason. It's okay if you don't meet them. Doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you're still working on it, and you will continue to work on it. If you have a goal that's been difficult, goals are goals for a reason. It's okay. You're working on it. You'll get there. Don't fret. I'm proud of you. Proud of all of us. I think I'm done rambling. I'll tell you a little bit about what is next to come. But let's see. Like I said, next up is world building. So I'm spending all of February focusing on world building. I'll finish up character kind of on the side, but I don't know what that's going to look like, because world building and I have beef. I've never been good at it. I'm not good at articulating things about my world. I understand how it works. I know why things function the way they do, but then people ask me questions about why, and I don't know. I don't know why. So I'm just not very good at it. It's not a strength of mine, naturally. So I don't really know what this next month is going to look like, just that I do need to have some set rules and some set things that I am putting down on paper, instead of just saying, it makes sense in the book. No, it doesn't. It makes sense to me. It does not make sense to the readers inherently, which I have learned the hard way. So I have a few books I'm planning to read to help with this, and then I have this big world building notebook, or not notebook, like workbook, where it's got a bunch of different like worksheets to go through, and you can kind of pick and choose what actually applies to what you're writing. So I'm going to work through that as well. But I think it's just going to be a lot of brain dumps that I have to organize into more clear rules on the page. I'm not really sure what it's going to look like, just that I'm expecting a challenge, and that's okay. And yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. I really don't know what to expect, but that's fine. Something else I need to work on is that when people ask me questions about the rules of my world, I get really defensive and discouraged. A great example is my husband asked me once why something worked the way it did, and it turned into not a full-fledged argument, but like it was on my side. He was just more like, I was just asking a question, and I got really upset, mostly because I didn't know how to answer him. And I felt really insecure about, why don't I know how this works? I've been in this world for way too long. I should know how it works. So that's what this month is for, is figuring out why it works the way that it does, having answers for those kinds of questions, and recognizing when I don't need to answer a certain question because of A, B, or C. So that's what February is for. We'll find out how I fare. I don't know. Yeah, I wrote here, this next month is going to be a lot of work on the page versus filling out data that I kind of already know. Similar to character in that I know the answer, but no, I don't. That's all for now. I will have another check-in next month once I have finished my world building section. Eventually I'll probably try to do these updates a bit more frequently, and I think that will come when I actually start writing. I'll have a little bit more to talk about. Right now I'm kind of just doing all the background work, so there's not as much to say. That's about it. That's how my month has been, writing-wise. Things I'm learning about myself and my craft and how much work it's going to take. But I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the lessons that I'm learning, even though they're difficult to come to terms with, and it just makes me excited to continue moving forward and to keep learning and to keep growing and to keep making progress. So that's it. I have some more book reviews coming out in the next couple weeks, so keep your eye out for those. Otherwise, I will see you with more updates about how the book is going in a month. Thanks, everyone. That's it. All done. Oh, my legs hurt from standing this long. Yikes.